All right, let's start. So hello everyone, I'm Valentin Nallet from Tectera. Tectera is the French innovation cluster dedicated to textile industry, and we are partners in the project, in the EuroBoosTEX project. Just a few words before starting. The presentation will be recorded, so if you do not want to be seen, just turn off your camera. You all received the agenda of today. So the presentation will start by a quick presentation of the third call of EuroBoosTEX from Julia. Julia Verchev from Atteval. Julia, the floor is yours. Just take the lead and we will start. Your mic is turned off.
No.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to this webinar about Australia. As you know, EuroBoosTEX is a Eurocluster project managed by Atteval jointly and with other partners, the Portuguese Textile Cluster, Tectera in Lyon, NTT in Tuscany, and AI Textiles in Catalonia. The main objectives are to promote innovation. For this, we funded 10 individual SMEs with lump sums of 15,000 euros to launch new products or services to market. The first call was launched in 2023. The second one is to enable the adoption of processes and technologies provided by digitalization and circular economy. For this, we funded 12 SMEs consortia with lump sums of 60,000 euros to run the pilots. The second call was launched on September 6th. And the third one, to go international with Australia as a target market. In this call, we will fund 15 individual SMEs with lump sums of 12,000 euros each. The call will be launched in May. The total financial support to third parties is 1,050 million euros. These are the beneficiaries of the first call and also the second call. And about the third call, we have available budget to fund 15 projects. And the most important is to know in which dates we are going to launch the third call. We will open the platform to submit your proposals at mid-May, and we will close on 17 July. During July-September, we will evaluate it, and the funding proposals will be notified along September. Also requesting the different financial documents and to sign the contract before the end of September. The expected starting date of the project will be 1st October 2024. The duration of the proposals will be of 6 months, from 1st October till 31st March 2025. The total budget available is 1,080,000 euros, and the fixed financial support per SME 12,000 euros. The different activities you can include and develop in these proposals are the internationalization strategy review, development of market of assessment of market opportunities in Australia, technical assessments and viability, the preparation of the customized agendas for B2B meetings in Australia, travel we can cover also the travel to Australia and the participation in trade fairs in Australia. One of the mandatory documents will be to develop a business plan for internationalization operations. And that's all from my side. I think the most interesting is to hear about the experts and to share different experience about the Australian market.
Thank you, Julia. Just before the experts talks, we will let Maria Jose from CTV introducing the market assessment reports we prepared upon the projects. Maria, if you can share your screen.
Yeah, I'll do it. Good morning,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Valentin, to consider me not expert, but
Not
so,
expert in the Australian market.
but that's what I'm talking. I will talk a little bit about the Australian market. I suppose you are already seeing my screen.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do, I'll put it, I don't know if you are seeing it in the presentation mode.
Not yet.
Okay, now yes, so yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'm doing is in a few minutes summarize a report that we have made in scope of this project about the Australian market. Of course, you have here experts, as Valentine said, related to that, so we'll know a little more with them. Nevertheless, what we are going to do, or I'm going to do in the next few minutes, is making an overview of Australia, very short, then talk a little bit more about the textile market in Australia, with an overview also, some applications of the textiles, and also where they are in the territory states of Australia, and at last the conclusions. So for the Australia overview, just to, probably you know, but Australia is the sixth largest country in the world in terms of land, and is divided in two territories and 6 states, the Northern Territory and Australian Capital Territory, and then states of New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. We have Australia well positioned. She is in the position 12 in terms of the largest economy in the world. She has also the trade in Australia represents around 45% of the economy. And the main partner in terms of trade with Australia is the Asia region, being China, the principal partner in trading with Australia. Nevertheless, the European Union and the United Kingdom accounted with 11% of the total of trade. And this is done with European Union have not yet a trade agreement with Australia. Into June 2018, Australia started to negotiate with the European Union to have a free trade agreement that is not yet closed, but Australia has in place 17 free trade agreements with other regions in the world. Most of the business in Australia are composed by small companies with less than 20 employees. At least that was the situation in June 2023. Related with the textile market in Australia, we can say that the fashion and textile industry has some contribution in terms of economic figures and also in terms of employment, but is not the most important industry in Australia. Nevertheless, they have some incomes with that, so can be interesting for us. The Australia fashion and textile industry is more focused on part of design and then the retail in terms of the production chain. That means that more or less 88% of the business in terms of textiles is designed in Australia, but only 29% of the materials are sourced from local suppliers. So most of the materials are supplying from outside. That can be a good tip for the companies that want to go there. In 2021, the major trading partner of Australia in textiles was China, Vietnam, Indonesia, New Zealand, and India in terms of exports, and also in terms of imports, China, Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So similar to what we saw in the overview of Australia, in the textile industry, the partners are more or less the same. We have in the 45 first countries that have trades with the European countries, we have some of the European countries positioned. And from those, The one that is best position is Italy, that is in 6th position in terms of exports and in 7th position in terms of imports. Australia is also a major supplier of merino wool and also a significant supplier of cotton, being the 3rd largest exporter country in the world for this type of fibers. In terms of the evolution of the Australia trade with the European Union, 27 countries. So in terms of imports, we can see that from 2018 to 2020, the numbers decrease, but after that, until 2022, the numbers starting to rise again, and indeed they reach now figures that are superior to the one that we have in 2018. So main products that Australia imports from the European Union in terms of textile products are articles of apparel and clothing accessories. So these are the main ones that can be knitted or crocheted or not. So they are the most important, but also some products like carpets and other textiles, floor coverings, and impregnated, coated, covered, or laminate textile fabrics have some expression in terms of articles imported by Australia. In terms of exports, the same happens in terms of devolution from 2018 to 2023. So until 2020, the numbers were decreasing, but then start rising again. But in this case, did not achieve the values of 2018. Main type of the products that Australia exports for the European Union countries is wool and products derived from the wool. No surprise, because you see that is the most relevant product Australia exports. In terms of Australia textile applications, in the study we have studied 5 different applications: fashion, home and hospitality, the athleisure and sportswear, the workwear and personal equipment, protection equipment, and geotextiles. For this presentation, we'll focus on the first 3 because they are the most relevant. Nevertheless, at the end, I'll share with you the link for the summary of this study where you have more information on the other sectors if you are interested in. But for fashion, for instance, we can say that Australia is the 2nd largest consumer of textiles in fashion in the world. So United States of America is the first one. Australia fashion industry is also expected to grow in the next years. So we have still some opportunities there. From the different segments of the fashion clothing, the women's wear is the one that is the largest in terms of revenue, but is also, of course, the more difficult to compete for market share because it's the one that have more players in Australia market. Sustainability in Australia is considered very important in the fashion industry. Nevertheless, the price is still the most relevant factor when deciding to buy something. Australia customers in terms of online buying products is also expected to increase overall, being that the fashion industry will contribute to this online purchase in the most amount, representing around 39% of the total of the buyings that will be online. So online is a relevant market in Australia for the fashion industry. In terms of home and hospitality, so here you have home textiles and also the segment of textiles that are used in hotels, in restaurants, etc. So in the hospitality segment of this. In terms of Australia home textiles, the market is also market size also estimated to reach in next years. Also the hotel textile segments, and this case is expecting this growth is expected due to the increasing demands for quality accommodation and also because the tourism is growing worldwide. This is relevant also to see that they will be demanding, in this case, textile products for hotel that are in high quality, because this is more or less the kind of tourism segment that is growing. Also here, the online is relevant. In this case, more for the home textiles than for the hospitality, and it's common to have some retailers with physical stores also having their sellings online. Other trend in the home textiles market is the demand for linen products, since it is considered or is still seen as more sustainable and biodegradable. So linen products are relevant for the home textiles in Australia. In terms of athleisure and sportswear, so the situation is more or less as in the rest of the world. So more and more people is doing sports. We have the aging of the population, and also we have the athleisure phenomenon that increased a lot with the COVID pandemic restrictions. And for that, the demand on sports and active wear is growing also in Australia. In sport markets, and when you call sport markets, we are talking not only about the clothing, but also the equipments that are used for the sports. Nevertheless, sport clothing represents around 55% of the total of this market in terms of revenue, which is very relevant. Over the past 5 years, the fitness and athletic clothing market in Australia grow and also is being estimated to continue to grow in next years. The number of sportwear companies in Australia is huge. Also, we have a lot of companies. Of course, I'm saying huge for the size of Portugal. For Australia, probably it's not so huge. Nevertheless, what is relevant here is to say that most of these companies are located in first New South Wales, then Victoria, and also in Queensland. That are main states where the sportswear companies are located. And that brings me to the Australia market in territories and states. And what we could see is that the textile and clothing sector has its major hubs in New South Wales and Victoria. These are the two states where the textiles are mostly located in Australia. In terms of wool production, New South Wales is the one that produced the greatest volume of wool. Then Victoria, but also Western Australia and South Australia. Nevertheless, it's Victoria that has the largest share of textile processing and manufacturing workforce, and is also the one that is the largest wool exporter. So, and represents more than 50% of the total Australia export in wool. We have here also some trade fairs that are happening in New South Wales and Victoria, since these are the states more relevant in terms of textiles. We have there, when they happen, one of them happened just a few days ago, the Australasian Kilt Convention happened from 11 to 14 April this year. But we have there some others that will happen in a few days and some in June and September, just to be aware that there is some markets and some fairs that can be relevant for the ones that can prepare a mission to there. So in terms of conclusions, what we can say is that the textile and clothing industry operate usually across urban and regional areas of Australia, with major hubs located in New South Wales and Victoria. So if you are interested in prepare an Australia business mission for the textile and clothing sector, preferably you'd focus on those states. In terms of the textile application sector in Australia, the ones that we analyze, as I said in the beginning, fashion, home and hospitality, and athleisure and sportswear seems to be the most interesting for the European countries. It's also relevant to see that sustainability and online shopping are currently relevant trends in these textile application sectors. So these are the main points of the presentation. And just to conclude, if you want to know more about this study and more information, You can consult the Australian Market Assessment Report summary that is available on the EuroBoosTEX LinkedIn page, but also on ECCP webpage. We have there the links. The presentations will be shared, and then you can go deeper in the information and consult this report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria Jose. Now I will let the floor to Daniela. Daniela, if you want to share your screen, otherwise I can. Daniela is a business development manager at Altios, and she's based in Sydney, Australia.
Sure, thank you, Valentin. Can you please tell me when you see my screen?
It's not yet for me, but it's black.
Yeah, probably wait some minutes. I'm also seeing it's frozen. But yeah, I can probably start while it goes into the screen. So my name is Daniela. I am business development manager based here in Sydney. I'm very happy to be with you today. Thank you very much also Tectera for inviting us to be part of this presentation and to share with you our knowledge of Australia and also on international business development. I think EuroBoosTEX is a very exciting project, and I hope it will bring you also to this very exciting project. Thank you, Maria Jose, for this introduction. I will try to say different things from what you said because it was already very enlightening. And also today, there is my colleague, Anne Audrin, who is the person responsible of the corridor between Australia and France on the Altios France side, in case there's any specific questions. Can you confirm that you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Then today we will review some market insights. We'll review together information on how to do business in Australia, and we'll discuss the road to success in this country. I'll also share with you some events happening in the country and 2 case studies to present to you how Altios can help you succeed in Australia or any other partner or in any other part of the world as well. Let's start with the Australia market insights. So let's get some figures. Australia is also known as the lucky country. So I will try to present some reasons why this country is called that way and why is it also the top desired working location here in Asia Pacific and also one of the top desired locations in the world. So as we just saw, Australia is a very big country and it also has a growing population. Today, it is 26 million people, but this population is expected to grow 30 million in 2030 and 45 million in 2070. Migration is one of the main sources of growth in the country, and 80% of Australia's population live in 5 major cities near the coastal zones. Regarding the political environment, so the capital is Canberra, as we just saw, and the main economic hubs are Melbourne and Sydney, so no surprise that these are also the textile hubs here in the country. We also have very good political stability, which is also very good when you think about making business in a country. And we are also one of the safest countries in the world. Australia is also a multicultural country. You will find people from all around the world, and it benefits from a highly skilled workforce with highly educated Australian youth, which is also a very good asset for any business who's looking to invest and hire people locally. The key industries in Australia are mining, healthcare, education, food and beverage, and defense. And I believe many of these industries can be application industries for the textile industry. As you can see in the map, of course, mining is very present. It is nearly 75% of the country's exports, and Australia is the largest producer of a lot of critical minerals, for example, lithium. We also produce gold, iron, lead, and zinc, and nickel. And to give you a rough idea of how big mining is, we have around 350 operating mining sites across the country. Today, what's changing is that the goal of the country is to have more initiatives to decarbonize the mining operations. And this is a trend you will see in a lot of industries, including the textile one. You can also notice that manufacturing is highly represented. This industry includes a range of subsectors as the chemical industry, food processing, but also the textile industry at a lower scale. There's also fintech opportunities in digital payment, digital lending, and everything that's wealth tech. And then finally, Australia's healthcare industry is very big. The country invests roughly 10% of its gross domestic product. And note that in 2050, 2060, I would say, people aged more than 65 years old will account for nearly 25% of the population. So this is a sector that is booming. We are seeing a lot of investments from the government in hospitals, in this industry in general, and there is also a lot of opportunities for the textile industry within this industry. For example, with highly technical textiles for temperature control, furnitures, technical uniforms, all of these things. Now, let's delve into some essential information to know on how to conduct business in Australia. This slide covers mainly things to consider if you want to successfully navigate the Australian business landscape. There is, of course, some do's. For example, in the Australian business culture, it is very common to maintain a friendly and relaxed atmosphere while still adhering to professional standards. The hierarchy is important, but we notice that the management always consults the subordinates to take decisions. So decisions are taken collectively, and Australia is very well known for its ease in doing business. Australians are very friendly people, very honest people. You will see that if you start doing business here. And coming to this country has a lot of benefits. Just as I mentioned before, that it has a multicultural population. This actually makes Australia a great test market for a lot of industries because you find people from all around the world. It can be mainly for the health industry, but also for a lot of marketing initiatives, for example. So no doubt this could benefit your business as well in the textile industry. Its proximity also to the Asian markets is a great advantage. And last but not least, Australia offers a 360 days business model because, as you know, your summer is our winter. So if you're commercializing any type of specific weather-related textile, for instance, Australia may enlarge your activity throughout the year. I would say in the business etiquette side, just remember that being friendly and relaxed before doing business is important. So forget about some aggressive communication or aggressive sales techniques that are very common in Europe. I am French, so I know business can be quite different. And then some difficulties you may experience is that actually presence is required to do business here. So you will have to have at some point a local entity, a local representative. Time difference also, it's not a detail, especially when you do business from Europe. And then each state has its own regulations, its processes, and its authorities. So Maria Jose, just remember that Australia has 2 territories and 2 states. And just so you know, regulations may vary from state to state. So this is something you must consider. Now, we spoke a little bit already about the free trade agreements, so I'll be really quick on this. Just so you know that having a business in Australia isn't just about the local success you can reach in this country, because it also opens doors to a lot of different markets, because the country has very healthy relationships with several countries. I actually have the knowledge there's 18 free trade agreements, including India, which happened last year, but also the USA, China, the UK, Singapore, and so on, there's also a lot of multi-party agreements. For example, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or the Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. And indeed, a free trade agreement has been under negotiation since some years. We are not expecting any advancements for this year, but we are very optimistic for any advance that will occur certainly in 2025 between Australia and Europe. So the road to success in this country is really not very different from that in that can be in any other country or market, I would say. The steps are implementation mission, distribution agreement, incubation, subsidiary management, and finally external growth. So during the implementation mission step, you really need to make sure your knowledge of the market is good. You must get familiar with the culture, with the language, with the habits of the country and its people. Then finding a distributor could be very good. It could be great for short-term results, I would say. It will help you developing some sales, gathering some feedback. However, at this stage, you don't have much control over the distribution and the full relationship with your clients, and you do become dependent of an external party, especially if you sign, for example, an exclusive agreement here in Australia. So to avoid that risk, you may consider to hire local people. So, for example, dedicated staff that could monitor the market, that could entertain the relationship with your distributors, and who could find new opportunities for your business. Once you have very good sales, I would say, running, you may want to improve your relationship locally, because being local is really very important here in Australia. And creating a subsidiary will allow you, for example, to invoice locally, which is extremely important, and to benefit from a local recognition. Especially if you are planning to work with the government, having a local entity will be mandatory here in Australia. And then finally, if you really want to accelerate your footprint in the market and you have some budget, but of course we may be speaking in some years from now, you may be looking at acquiring a partner or a competitor, and that can always be a very good strategy to expand your activities here. Now, if we compare these different stages, you will find benefits and also some drawbacks for each development stage. However, please keep in mind that the impact of each stage may vary depending on your own strategy. So I am trying to give a general overview, but it will depend from business to business. And also, you do not need to follow the full roadmap. Of course, you may never choose external growth, for example, for strategic purposes. But if we look at the first step, this step, again, I would say the main drawback is that it will require time, it will require resources, and it will require that you are actively involved. But it also offers the opportunity to withdraw if you sense that there is no potential for your business. Also, you do not need to be physically present to perform this study. And I think you are very well supported here with Tectera, because they will advise you also on how to be supported and how to go through all these important steps, which I understand are the primary which will be founded by this third call. Regarding the distributor agreement, partnering with the right distributor, it's really the first real step to sell your products in the local market. And you can choose different approaches depending on your strategy. It can be commission-based sales, exclusivity, and so on. And again, this stage will provide you with immediate access to the market with a local presence, but you have to be aware that you will not be in full control of your sales, your processes, your after sales, and so on. So incubation stage, it's really very interesting because establishing a local presence will be very good for your local business success. And this is especially true in Australia, given the distance, the time difference also from Europe. This is, however, a temporary solution. You cannot grow your business with part-time business development or with external parties forever, but it will be a good start before you decide to open an official entity. And you can choose different approaches depending on your strategy again. The very good thing of this is that also if you choose to do some incubation solutions, you could actually be able to test the findings you will see in your market study. You will have experts on the ground which will test your conclusions for you, which is very important. And then when it comes to subsidiary opening and management, again, having your local entity is really very, very important. It will give you credibility also within the local ecosystem. The local ecosystem is extremely important because this is what will help you succeed in the long term. And by local ecosystem, I mean any government agencies that will help you, such as Austrade. It can be government agencies like Investment New South Wales, Invest Victoria. I am happy to communicate those names. It can be trade associations. It can be other types of associations on the textile industry, banks. However, one important drawback is that the registration process can be complex, so you need to be supported by professionals. Finally, again, you may not reach the external growth pillar, but some businesses do. And here in Australia, brownfield and greenfield investments are significant strategies for expansion investment. And the Australian government is actually very sensitive to these kind of developments that bring innovation and that generate growth within the country. So to summarize what we just saw, I would say that going international is actually a niche market, and Australia is not an exception. Here at Altios, we are specialized in doing international business development, and we have noticed that only 20% of the companies who invest in international development succeed, while the remaining 80% suffer from the consequences of being opportunistic. This is why I really insist on the first stage of development, because conducting proper market research and creating these basic contacts will be key for you. There are, again, private and public actors that can help you and prevent you from being part of the 80% companies that fail to go international. Then, to develop your operations in Australia, it's really important that you invest in local staff at some point and that you are supported by local partners that will guide you and will assist you through the necessary steps. And again, I insist on the local ecosystem. Try to be locally present. Try to build and entertain your network. If you are coming by the end of the year, try to organize your meetings. Try to meet with strategic actors. This is really the way to proceed. Also, remember to adapt your product or your service to the local, I would say, practices. Make buying easy. Put your prices in Australian dollars. Don't forget to put your term and conditions also to the Australian standards. And in a nutshell, just adapt to the local practices. Very important. We just saw it before, and it's not a detail, but sustainability is really increasing in Australia and is very, very important. The government has implemented various policies and initiatives to promote sustainability and reduce the environmental footprint across different industries, including the textile sector. I talked about the mining. Just to give you an idea, the electricity production in Australia in terms of energetic mix is 70% fossil fuels. So there is a lot of expectations. The government is welcoming any initiative that will be environmental conscious and will favor any environmental conscious business. Australians, again, are people that are very close to nature. They protect their flora, their fauna. So the consumers are also becoming very conscious about this, and they will buy more from businesses that are sustainable friendly. So please keep this in mind to succeed in Australia. There is a lot of companies that are in the textile industry, for example, using more organic cotton, hemp, bamboo, and any kind of sustainable fibers instead of the conventional cotton or synthetic materials. There's also a lot of initiatives in water-saving technologies. Any aspect of your product that you can put into highlight regarding recycling, all of these things will be important regarding your manufacturing processes. It's important also to be transparent, and to enable for traceability of all your processes. Then, of course, certifications such as fair trade will be very important for you to gain recognition and to gain market shares here in the country. So please keep this in mind when you approach any stakeholders. Sustainability is really something very, very important, and it may really make a difference if you decide to come to the country. Now, I have chosen two real world case studies to share with you to illustrate how European textile companies can succeed here in Australia, and especially what we can do. The first one is an example of a French hemp producer who is actually still a client here at Altios, so it's a very good success story. This company reached out to Altios for a subsidiary setup and management in Australia support, and they also had the challenge of the compliance of their products with the Australian regulatory affairs. So not only did Altios supported them with their operational competitiveness, we helped them open a bank account. This is a real long operation here in Australia, very tricky, so it's not a detail. We helped them also with the payroll management and so on. But I would say one very important thing we did in this case is that we connected them with our local expert lawyers to solve their compliance concern, and we also connected them with our local ecosystem with whom they were able to directly resolve these complexities. So this is important because we are not just here to help you run your business. We want to make sure you will succeed in the long term. And that's why we have the right people and the knowledge to support through these kind of complex points, such as certification and regulation. And also important to mention is that after Australia, we actually supported this company in New Zealand. So there's a lot of interest while you have a business established in Australia. It will be easier for you to go to New Zealand, and there's a lot of ways to do that. Second case study is a French, again, composite fabrics manufacturer. This company reached to Altios for recruitment and payroll services. They had very little knowledge of the Australian employment criteria, and we actually helped them to navigate those complexities. So just to give you a few information and a general idea, the Australian employment law is very light compared to France, for example. It is covered by a few different pieces of legislation, including the Fair Work Act, the Work Health and Safety Act, and the Superannuation Guarantee Law. Under the Australian law, there's a lot of things that are entitled to the employees, such as minimum wages, paid leave, safety in the workspace, compensation, pension fund. However, for example, private health insurance is not mandatory, but it is a common practice to provide it from the employer. So coming back to this case study, even though the labor law may seem light, it actually takes a lot of knowledge to navigate it. And today, after 5 years, we are still hosting 2 of the employees of this company, and we have also helped them through their initiatives in Southeast Asia. So this is really the power of benefiting from a global and powerful network such as Altios. Your business doesn't have to stop in Australia. It may actually just begin. So it's important to keep that in mind. It may just be the first step for you. And I see that time is running. I will be very quick. Just quick words about us. So again, we are an international business development consultancy firm. We are present in 22 different countries, 35 offices, 800 people in the world. As you can see, we have a very important presence in Europe. And our main strength actually here at Altios is our local presence. So just as I am here talking with you, I am based in Sydney. I am able to meet you here, to meet your prospects, your clients. I am also part of a bigger team. So we have people in Spain, in Portugal, in France, in Italy. We speak your language. I personally am French Mexican also. Así que si alguien habla español aquí, podemos retomar el tema con mucho gusto. But it's really important, I believe, for you to know that there's people that you will be able to meet in every single one of your countries. So very quickly, this is our 4 pillars of expertise. And what we can do here is we can help you decide which country you should go or you shouldn't go for based on your capabilities. This is what we call management consulting. We can also provide market study support with validation of that potential, including a go and no-go phase. We can reach for the business partners or the suppliers you need. We will be here to provide assistance during your visit in Australia if you wish to, and you will also be able to discuss with our teams in every single one of your country. And finally, we can support you if you need to do any human resources activities, incubation, if you need business incorporations and subsidiary management, and of course, and I do hope this for you in the future, if you need to acquire a company to do a joint venture, to do any merger and acquisitions project, we can do the search of targets and so on. So finally, I have chosen this list of other events. I am actually attending the Australian Manufacturing Week this week, and I didn't include it. So apologies for that. I tried to choose some sectors that may be sectors of application for you, including sports, including, of course, fashion, energy, why not? This is not an exhaustive list, so I am happy to share its update with you afterwards, but feel free to navigate these events and make your own opinion and start doing your market research with it. So thank you very much. Again, I'm Daniela from Altius, and I will also be more than happy to give you tips when you come to Australia, help you with your trip and so on, even though Tectora is doing a great job. So if there's any questions, I'm here to answer to them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniela. Just to mention, yes, if you have any question, you can write it down in the chat, and we will also send you the presentation afterwards. So if you have any needs to be connected with Daniela, Corinne, or the partners of the project to know more about the third call, don't hesitate to send us an email. Last but not least, I will leave the floor to Corinne Butt, CEO and founder of the Polyglot Group. She will share with us her experience on the Australian markets. I will share my screen, Corinne, if you want to take the lead.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a few
Can you hear
minutes.
me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So good evening to the people on this side of the world, and good morning to you all. While Valentin is launching my 2 slides, because it's very quickly, what I've been asked to do, and I'm not going to go, Daniela's done a pretty good job about the market, and I didn't want to double up. But obviously, with my accent, you know, I'm French originally. I just wanted to share with you like an eyewitness account or a testimony, because I've been in Australia for 35 years now, which is quite a while. And I've set up, we can't see the slide, Valentin.
Oh,
No.
sorry, I will try again.
I've been, I want to testify, yeah, no, not yet, about how, thank you, how easy it is to set up something. So I am, Polyglot is an Australian company, and I've got subsidiary over the world, so I've done the other way around. But I just wanted to share with you how it is a very interesting market, interesting destination, and it's not easy, but it's easier than in Europe for having done the other way around. It's easier to start with a light footprint, with a light presence, and then go on, as such as Daniela said. Just to give you an idea, I arrived in 1990 in Australia, and then 5 years after, I set up a company. It costed me back then $1,000, and then I was up and running to do business. Obviously, it was service, so it's easier than when you do manufacturing or something else, but still very easy. And very quickly, we developed. I started on my own, thinking I would be working 3 days a week as an independent consultant, and then suddenly I had staff, and now we are more than 100 people here in Australia. So in nearly 25 years, it's quite a big thing. So it's really important to understand that in terms of the development of a company, set up something in Australia is important, and Daniela has raised the point. But you can start light, explore the market, and go on with that. So if you want to pass the other way around, the second slide. So you see from 95 to 2020, it went, it seems very quick to me, but it's not quick, 25 years. But it's very easy to grow, and to grow from Australia. So what you need to understand is that Australians are really early adopters. So Daniela mentioned it is a good test market. I fully agree. I'll give you an example. We set up and help H&M arrived in Australia from zero to what they are now, from incorporating them to doing their payroll, as well as Decathlon, which we had in the office. So that's in your industry somehow. And it's from, Decathlon, I think it was 8 years ago or 9 years ago, and now they've got, I don't know, many shops. So Australians are very early adopters, and it's a very good way to test the market in Asia also, and then go from Australia to New Zealand or to Asia. That's what we did, and what I wanted to testify with our story, with my story, is that it is possible. Because I didn't have any investor at the beginning. I really started with whatever I had, which is a lot of work, and obviously, and a good idea, and having the right people around you is important. But it is really, I call Australia the fruit salad, because you have, it's like a bowl of fruit salad, and everybody has a different color, a different texture, and a different savor, but it's all good and it tastes good. Really, the employment here is there's a lot of highly skilled employees. Obviously, the market is tense at the moment, specifically since COVID, where we didn't have any immigration coming in for something like nearly 2.5 years. And the unemployment is at 3.6 globally, and 3.6 in New South Wales, and 3.8 globally in terms of Australia. So you can tell it's a bit of a trick, but we're used to it, and we're trying to find the right people for the right companies. So in a nutshell, it's very, you need to be practical. Australians are practical. Australians are here to do business. You'll be surprised. Some clients of ours just get into a meeting and then get out with an answer, whether it's no or yes, which doesn't happen in Europe. You need several appointments, several presentations, and it's sometimes pretty tricky to get an answer. And a no answer is better than a yes answer, so you can go on. But we've seen clients that came in onto a fair or something like that, and got back with a contract. And then it's rock and roll. How do we do? How do we deliver? So that kind of thing can happen here. Things are extremely more happening more quickly than in Europe in general, in France in particular. We had a subsidiary in Barcelona, so I know Spain and France more in more details. But really, the market here is moving much quicker. People are quick to make decisions. People are quick to change job as well. People are quick to move from one state to the other. The dynamic is quite different. Polyglot is it means multi-language, multicultural, as you know. So we have clients coming from all over Europe, all over the world, from America to Asia and Europe. And such as Altios, we help them navigate, specifically with everything which is human-centric. Because at the end of the day, it is the people that will represent you that will make the difference. Having said that, it is important also to notice that here I'm representing also the CCEF of France, which is the French Trade Advisor. So I'm not here to sell what Polyglot can do, but I'm here to invite you to come and explore the Australian market. Daniela covered also the New Zealand, saying, from Australia, you can go to New Zealand. I know this webinar is registered or recorded, sorry. But I will say that from Australia, New Zealand could be considered as another state somehow. It's very easy to do business from Sydney or from Victoria to New Zealand. It's usually the case. Polyglot is one of them. We have a full subsidiary, but nobody in New Zealand. And 25% of our sales come from New Zealand. So it gives you an idea. Apart from that, I'm happy to respond to any of your questions. It is important to ask yourself the right question and to speak to people who have some knowledge of the local markets and the local actors. And I'm available whenever you come, or before you come, or after. As a French trade advisor, I could help and assist you with no problem. I believe it's summarized. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you very much. As we are running out of time, I would suggest just to take the question in the chat, if that's okay for you. So we have a question from Zoe. Perhaps you want to explain it, take the lead, or I can read it. No problem. It's
just wondering because hi, I'm from Milan and I have a brand and I develop a special textile, and so we are dealing a lot with the transition, the new normatives, the new laws coming up, the extended product responsibility, the circular economy. So we are dealing with this transition in Europe, and I was wondering in which way is the situation in Australia. So you talked generically about sustainability, but what are the laws regarding textile waste, or there are some new norms coming up, like the digital product password that we have in Europe. So it would be very interesting to understand how can we be compliant if there are specific laws, in which way Australia is changing the regulations regarding sustainability in the textile industry and fashion industry.
I can probably say, so thank you for the question. To my knowledge, there is not really any legislation require a digital product passport. This is to my knowledge. However, there is indeed textile waste norms, of course, specific relations policies. I suggest I can reach out to the people we know from the ecosystem to get some details on it and come back to you to avoid giving half answers specific to the textile.
Yes, thank you. And also regarding the extended product responsibility. So in the future, in the near future, or anyone that produces anything in Europe, especially for textile, is responsible for the end of life and all this new normative. Thank you.
Yes. This is a very common, I would say, trend. We are also seeing this in every single product, solar panels, for example, every single product that is being produced. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I honestly haven't heard any digital product passport here in Australia. But I will definitely take a look and send answer to Valentin.
Thank you.
Do we have another question? You can raise your hand or type in the chat. Okay, so I think that's it. Julia, do you want to have a last word?
Just to inform that as we are going to launch the third call on 15 May, we have organized an info day on 16 May. And there we can explain the complete details about the terms of the call. And we invite you to join us during this info day and to check all the activities that you can include in your proposal and to participate in the third call of the project. And also thank you all to participate in today's webinar. It was really exciting to know the many options that we can find in the Australian market. So I think we need to use and also all the information that the different experts have provided to us. So thank you for both.
Thank you very much. I see there's another question, so I'll try to give answers, but afterwards. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.